So my name's Alison from Alison's Astrology, and you can find me at alisonsastrology.net, also on Instagram or Facebook. And I've actually come to talk to you about the upcoming eclipse. I thought I would do this on YouTube because I know lots of people prefer to listen to their astrology or even just watch it while they're, I don't know, peeling potatoes or something rather than read it. So here we are. So the lunar eclipse is coming up on the 18th of September. It's going to be at 25 degrees, 40 minutes of Pisces, and it's a full moon. So lunar eclipses are actually full moons because you've got the sun and moon in opposition across the sky with the earth in between them. So essentially, the earth is blocking the light of the sun from reaching the moon. So it's a partial eclipse. So it's not going to block all of the light, but it will look like a bite's been taken out of the moon. So the idea of an eclipse sort of gives you a clue immediately because it suggests that something might be hidden. Something might not be quite clear about something. But eclipses essentially are like supercharged full or new moons. And full moons are all about the ending or culmination of a cycle. So if you think about it, the moon's been growing, and then it arrives at this point, and that's the culmination of the cycle. And after that, it starts to wane. So this cycle is across the Virgo-Pisces axis, which is about service and about sacrifice and about helping people, about spirituality on the Pisces end, and that's where the moon is. Spirituality, it can be about even things like addiction as well, Pisces, because Neptune can be linked to that too, and Neptune's one of the rulers of Pisces. So Virgo, on the other hand, across the sky, represented by the sun, the solar energy, is practical. So Virgo wants to help too, but it wants to help in a practical way. And it kind of measures what it's doing and it manages it, tries to manage everything, Virgo, because, you know, it really wants to pay attention to the detail and get it right. Whereas Pisces is a little bit more kind of chaotic in its management. And this eclipse moon in Pisces, as well as being ruled or disposited, we say, by Neptune, is also disposited by Jupiter, who's in Gemini. So Gemini is actually making a challenging aspect to both the sun and moon. And Gemini is about talking about things, you know, gathering information. So maybe there's something to do with that as well that needs to happen while you're kind of deciding whether you're going to arrive at this point where you know, bring something to conclusion, as it were. So lots of discussion, maybe documents, writing could be involved. So Pisces in Virgo, we have emotional, sociable, conversation, information, compassion, and practical service. All those things tied up together with the Jupiter in Gemini. So how can these things continue to be meaningful? What is it that might be coming to an end? And the eclipse also involves Neptune, actually, so that this Neptune vibe is intensified with its themes of compassion and spirituality. Could be even to do with film and the media, those are other things. And the eclipse is forming a kite shape in the sky with Uranus and Pluto and Neptune, which are all retrograde. So it's a quite introspective, kind of reflective energy to do with ideals and sort of thoughts and spiritual matters. And so it's kind of asking us how our compassion and our emotions tie in with the cosmos, and how does this sit with our more directed, outgoing, practical solar energy? Things to consider. And if you have personal planets, that's Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, or Mars, not in that order, at around 25 degrees of Pisces, then you're going to feel this very strongly in the area of life that's represented by that personal planet. So Mercury, for instance, communication. Venus might be your relationships. So it's worth going to astro.com and seeing if you can pull up your chart and have a look and see which area of life it sits in. If you already know a little bit about your chart, then you can see which houses, which areas of life this eclipse is going to be kind of focused on. So I'll just run through those to revise them with you. So if the eclipse moon is in Pisces in the first house, then the opposite to that is the seventh house, which is Virgo. So Pisces is going to be about you and how you approach the world, where Virgo is going to be about your partner. Okay. And then you're going to have Gemini sort of somewhere up at the top of the chart. So to do with how you relate to the public or society. So this could be about, are you sacrificing maybe yourself for your partner? Is that a conversation that you need to have? Is something going to come to an end there? And if it's the other way around, then it might be that you're not making enough sacrifices, but maybe you're trying to manage everything and your partner's just like, well, it's fine. Maybe, maybe you could be making sacrifices around your partner. So those are themes to think about, or consider with the first and seventh houses. And then across the second and the eighth, you're talking about resources and values, the second versus shared resources and values. So again, what issues might be at stake there? And I know someone, for instance, who has this, who's actually been running a charity, a little charity, for many years, and they're kind of finally coming to an end with that, decided there's really nothing else they can kind of do to help in that area anymore. So that's very much their resources and shared resources, and Jupiter on the square aspect is offering meaning to that, and the conversation as well. It was also to do with long distance travel, because this was a charity that was sort of situated in Nepal. And then we come to the third house versus the ninth house. The third house is your community and your brothers and sisters, your neighborhood. And then the ninth house is long distance travel, spirituality, higher learning, maybe university. Have you been taking lots of courses or something like that? Have you been, really involved in a church or some kind of spiritual movement that you've decided actually maybe isn't for you at this point? Could be issues like that coming up with this eclipse. And then moving on to the fourth versus the 10th. So the fourth is the bottom of your chart. It can relate to your father, but it can also relate to your home and your family. And this is really the classic kind of family versus career aspect here. The opposition between what you sacrifice in your family life in order to further your career. On the other hand, are you sacrificing your career if Pisces is up there on the midheaven in order to manage your family life, when in fact, maybe your kids are growing up and you don't actually need to do that quite so much anymore. The fifth house is to do with children, to do with creativity, to do with self-expression. And the 11th house is to do with groups and society, wider society, politics even sometimes, what you do in sort of the wider groups. So are there sacrifices that have been involved there, or compassion or spirituality? So is something there coming to a conclusion, something you might want to say, no, okay, done enough with that association, actually, I'm moving on now. Decisions need to be made usually on these eclipses. And last of all, the sixth, your daily life. This is actually the Virgo-Pisces axis. Virgo is associated with the sixth house, with health and ritual, with just how you spend your everyday. And your everyday is very important. It's most underrated. How you manage it. How do you spend all those minutes that you have on this planet? Important stuff. And then opposite in the 12th, there's this idea of the collective unconscious, of spirituality, of something much kind of vaguer in a sense. But a lot of doctors and nurses actually have a lot of planets in the 12th house, because it can be very compassionate, very selfless, very, very sort of giving, without any thought for getting things back. Or people that spend time on retreat, or I don't know, are involved in some very spiritual kind of activity. So again, decisions across that axis could be important at this time. And so thinking about that, this is the first eclipse in this Pisces series, so it's important really to make a note of what's happening and to just see how this follows through, because it could sort of come back next year actually with the other eclipses along the Virgo Pisces axis. So it's just one more thing with this particular little little chat, which is that the following day after the eclipse on the 19th, there's a lovely Sun-Uranus trine. So that's a really nice aspect. And it's going to be across in the earth signs, Virgo and Taurus. Uranus is still retrograde, but I think there might be something here that gets resolved because, you know, Uranus is about change, and this could be a positive change, actually. Although my own feeling with a lot of these things and all these planets that are retrograde, and Mars and Jupiter is going to go retrograde towards the end of the year too, is that there's a lot of things that won't perhaps get resolved until around next May, next springtime. But that's just a personal thought, and it's a thought for going forward. Anyway, that's probably enough from me. So I'll eclipse myself, and and I'll see you soon to talk about the equinox chart. Okay, bye.